Dear relationship cynics and relationship romantics, my name is Monice, and you are listening to the Romantic Cynic podcast. On this episode, I wanted to talk about if you have ever experienced being in a relationship with someone that wants to appear single. So I hope you join me on today's episode where we might mix in some laughter, maybe some tears, romance, and of course, some cynicism. Welcome to episode 20. With every one of my episodes, I try to find a few articles or videos on the topic at hand, and today's topic is no different. So, I wanted to talk about how some spouses or significant others or partners want to appear or want to have the illusion that they are single and available. Now, what I found kind of interesting is with my research of trying to find some articles that I could, talk about a little bit, I could not find one article that talked about how some partners want to have the appearance that they are single, even if they've been in a relationship for a long time. Of course, with every single one of my episodes, I always have some type of example that I can relate back to on the topic at hand. And on this week's episode, it's no different. Of course, there's a lot of history from my previous 14-year relationship where I can pull a lot of examples from that relationship. And of course, if you've been following me for a little bit, you know that a lot of those memories, experiences that I had with my former significant other weren't positive. I have a lot of negative experiences in that relationship, and I've been very fortunate to take those experiences and turn them into a positive. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to get out of that relationship when I did. I just got to a point where I didn't want to waste time anymore. So, with this particular episode today, I wanted to talk about how some significant others or partners want to appear single, especially with social media. I did see a few videos that they didn't talk about like specifics of, advice or what to look for. It was just people's experiences of what they had dealt with in previous relationships or even current relationships. So for me, my ex-partner, he wasn't really the type of person to do a lot of social media. I think the only thing he really had at the time was Facebook, and at least that's all I know of. I can't say if he had Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. He was very much the type of person who wanted to kind of be off the radar a little bit. Well, maybe not a little bit, but a lot. If for those of you that know me personally, you know that he was kind of paranoid when it came to just like social media in general, almost in an unhealthy way. I digress a little bit, so excuse me. But with my former partner, he never ever posted any pictures of us together or video, or we weren't even connected on social media either. To me personally, he always wanted to appear single for whoever was out there. I remember him telling me, actually not telling me, I had asked him, I said, hey, I know that you have Facebook, do you have any of your, former, girlfriends or even people you've slept with that have reached out to be friends with you? He's like, oh yeah, I have a few, but I haven't, accepted any of their friend requests, but I will accept friend requests from, their siblings or things like that. And I remember one of his first girlfriends, that I had mentioned in another episode about him stopping on the side of the road, him and her pulling over while they were on the freeway to chat it up, which is really weird in my opinion. But with him, with his ex-girlfriend, he had said that he didn't he wasn't friends with her, but he was friends with her sister on Facebook. And, he's like, I remember him telling me, he's like, oh, I feel so bad. They're going to think that I don't like them anymore. Like, he was so concerned about the feelings that he was provoking in his ex-girlfriend. Again, red flag, right? Still can't believe I chose to ignore so many things in that relationship. Kind of an idiot on my part. But with him, yeah, so he would be friends with like the siblings and sometimes even the parents, which again I thought was weird because, I had been pretty insecure at that time in my young adulthood, where I became jealous quite easily. But there was also things that he did to make me jealous, and sometimes I think he did that on purpose because he wanted to always appear more significant or more important than he probably was. He had this very much like God-like complex. He's always had it, and I don't think it's just probably the type of person he grew up to be. But with social media, not us being connected, he always, even his status, it was like, not even in a relationship, but it was just weird. So he wanted to typically appear, to me, in my personal opinion, he wanted to appear single. The big one, probably the biggest one that that definitely hurt my feelings the most was after we had gotten married. He decided he did not want to wear his wedding ring at all. The only time he wore it is if it was for, somewhat very special occasions, or if I just really asked him, can you please wear it? And I really got to a point where I just got tired of asking. I was expected to wear my wedding ring, all the time. And I did it out of respect for the relationship. But he chose deliberately not to wear his wedding ring. His big belief was, every time I wear my wedding ring, you and I get in a big fight. And he always found excuses to not do things that I wanted. I wanted somewhat of a traditional relationship. And he was very much the type of person that I don't want a traditional relationship in terms of, asking your dad's or your parents' permission to marry you. That brought about somewhat of a fight with us because he's like, well, I shouldn't have to ask for permission. But for me personally, I grew up in a household where it was traditional, even though I might have some tendencies to be a little bit too independent on my own. At the end of the day, I still want a traditional type of relationship, and he just could not respect that from my opinion, from my point of view. And of course, as I'm talking, I just really think about like, wow, he did not respect me at all. I don't even really think he liked or even cared for my family all that much either, which is really sad because, I always put in a lot of effort to get to know his family and get to know his friends. But with him, he always wanted, in my opinion, again, that he wanted to appear single. So how does this really translate to, other examples or for other people? If you want to appear single, if you want the illusion or have this type of appearance that you are single, even though you're in a relationship, then be single, be by yourself. If you want to appear as you're available to other men or women, then do that. But don't waste your partner's time, especially if especially if you've been in a long-term relationship or even a short-term relationship. It's not fair to your partner who dotes on you, and maybe who has a lot of respect for you, and maybe who wants to be in a significant relationship with you, or even a serious relationship with you. If you want to have that appearance that you're single and you're available, then be single and be by yourself, and don't waste the other person's time. I do know it took me a little bit to realize this. And again, I've watched a few, videos of other people's real life experiences, is if you are appearing single on social media. You're not posting pictures, you're not telling people that you're in a relationship. It's because there's someone out there, maybe from your past, maybe currently, that you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you don't want to make them jealous. But maybe there's some hope or belief that, especially if it's an ex girlfriend or an ex boyfriend, and maybe you're doing that because you want to get back with them. And if that's the case, again, end your current relationship. It's not fair to the person. Sometimes I think that some of us, I'm going to throw all of us in this big group together. I think sometimes all of us can be a little selfish in a healthy way. And I think there's a good chunk of us, in these unhealthy relationships that are so disrespectful to their partner, even though they think they're being respectful, or they're not really that serious with their partner because they're waiting for something better to come along, or if they're waiting for someone from their past to come back to them. If that's the case, again, end the relationship. It's not fair to waste someone's time, especially if that person has someone that is just right for them. And with me, I had, there's a lot of things I'm going to go back, and not that I have regrets about that previous relationship. It's more of, I wish I had opened my eyes just a little bit wider, or maybe not chosen to ignore things that I kept seeing. I know for me, I would voice my opinion and I'd voice my concerns, but at the end of the day, he just didn't care. And that's really hurtful as a person. And it doesn't matter if you're, a man or a woman. It's hurtful to know that your partner that you've invested all this time in, that you've made commitments to, that you've made sacrifices for, just to find out that maybe you feel that you're not good enough to be in a relationship with someone. I know for me personally, when I was in that previous relationship, I felt as if I was so unworthy of being in a healthy relationship. I felt so unworthy that I settled, but at the same time, I had someone that made me feel less than. They made me feel insignificant as a person, and made me feel jealous, and made me feel as if I would never be worthy enough for someone deserving. And that's what it really comes down to. If you do have a partner, or if you've had that experience where you've been with someone and they just want to appear single, and if you've ignored it, don't ignore those things. Or I hope that you were able to learn from that relationship and you're in a healthier relationship now. So that is my whole spiel of being in a relationship with someone that wants to appear single. I know for me, I would think I'm pretty loyal of a person, and just experiencing that type of relationship, I always try to take lessons from everything I do in life, not just relationships in general, but I always try to learn something from them. And from that one, I learned quite a bit about myself. I learned how strong of a person I am. I learned how, yes, I deserve happiness, and yes, I deserve to be in a loving relationship. So I hope you took some insight today and really reflected on your own life and where you are at currently. If you are single, that's okay. Just continue to be the best version of yourself and be passionate about things, and know that you are worthy of the best type of love. If you are in a healthy relationship, hold your partner close and tell them how much you love them and how much you appreciate them. Thank you for listening, and as always, yours truly, the Romantic Cynic.